Well, this lesson went from supposed to be a full-blown sermon to supposed to be a devotional thought to, hey man, you better hurry up. So, today we're going to talk about small things, of all things. Small things, since I have a small amount of time. Small is one of those words that's relative. Andrew is smaller than I am, but yet he's bigger than Charlie. He's small, but he's not the smallest. It's a relative term. Some people would say that because something is smaller, it's less significant. And that can be a huge oversight on whomever is making that assumption. Some of the hardest hits I took in football came from guys that were about half my size. And they usually could run about 4 times faster than I could. And when they made a connection, it hurt. You can't underestimate something that is small. We're going to go ahead and jump to, and I've said about 18 times. We're going to go ahead and jump to Luke 21. Luke 21. And look at the widow's mite. Nobody's flipping because they've got it all memorized. Luke 21. And he looked up and saw the rich men casting their gifts into the treasury, and he saw also a certain poor widow casting in thither 2 mites. And he said, Of a truth I say unto you, that this poor widow hath cast in more than they all. For all these have given in their abundance unto God, but she offered her penury and has cast all that she has. I think I said that word right. It was a little thing, but she did it with everything that she had. Trying to paraphrase about 3 weeks worth of looking into some stuff here. What is your attitude when you approach things that are spiritual? She gave what she had, not because that's what she could give. She gave what she had because that's what she had. There was nothing left for her to do but do that. It was not a small thing to her, but she presented that small thing, and it was a big thing to the people around her. Do we give? Some of us have abundance, and I'm not talking about just money. We have an abundance. Your encouragement, the way you present things to others, the way you say a kind thing to another person, do you give that every time you get the chance? These guys and girls that did all this stuff, do you tell them good job? I'm a little upset because I don't do it enough. When studying for this lesson, you look at the small things that you could do for others and what big implications it could have. Why would I not do that for my brother and sister in Christ? Is my heart right? Is it like the widow who wants to give everything? Or are we looking more as a selfish need? Well, they didn't do that for me. That's not the way we should be, folks. Not at all. I'll tell you what. I found out about a small thing in about the last 2 weeks. It's called a kitchen sink. A kitchen sink. It's a small thing. You don't think about it that often. But let me tell you, when you go without one for 9 days in a row, it's a big deal. All right? A kitchen sink. Now, I'm going to go spiritual with this in just a minute, but the kitchen sink, it just drains into this little pipe, and that little pipe runs into another pipe, and then boom, it's gone. You shouldn't have any problems with it. It took 3 plumbers 9 days. 3 plumbers, 9 days. If I'm lying, you can ask Madison. That happened. Okay? A kitchen sink. Now, what is it about a kitchen sink? It wasn't the sink itself. It was the plumbing underneath. It was the maintenance. How am I going to put this? Our Christian plumbing is what we're about to talk about. What do you do that makes you tick? The plumbing inside you that makes you tick as a Christian. There are things that we have to do to maintain. Now, this house that we bought in the last 2 years was built in 1963. The plumbing's original to the home. Okay? The lady that sold us the house built the house, and she was a grandmother at the time she built it. Do you imagine any grease has ever been down that kitchen sink? A grandmother that might cook a little bit, just a little bit. Well, now, that lady sitting right there, she cooks all the time. So there has been a little bit of grease built up in those pipes. And me not knowing, hey, you're supposed to throw some of that Riddex stuff every so often, or you might want to flush it with boiling hot water and Dawn distant. Yeah, that's what built up. It's a small thing until it happens. Why? The age of the house also, I want to bring that to it. It's 1963. That's not that old, but it is older. Why is it as Christians that the older ones of us are the ones that forget to do the maintenance? I'm talking to us. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to us. We forget to do our maintenance. Daily Bible reading, quoting scriptures, telling biblical stories to smaller children, or talking about biblical stories with our people of our own age. Those things are important. It's a small thing. But if we don't do them, it becomes difficult for some reason. You know, you're sitting up there. I feel this way a lot, so maybe I'm just talking to me. You're sitting up there like the story of Jonah. I've heard that once or twice. It's about enough. You know, I don't have to talk about it all the time. And then you have a small one, and all he wants to talk about is Jonah. Buddy, you'll get fired up about it. Don't forget to maintain you as a Christian so that you can therefore be an encouragement to others around you. Get lost in the Word. We're going to turn to Matthew 5 and talk about the attitude, not only of the widow, but we're going to talk about how our attitude should be, and we're just going to read it. I'm not digging deep into the Beatitudes today. Matthew 5, we're going to start in verse 3. As we read this, make sure that you're a person that can honestly self-reflect. That's difficult at times, to look at me and say, what am I doing wrong? How can I adapt what I'm doing to make myself better? Okay, that's not easy. In the coaching world, we ask kids to do it all the time. In the spiritual world, we need to be able to do it ourselves, because it's not on the preacher, the elders, the deacons, your wife or your husband to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's on you. And we need to be sure that we can self-reflect. Matthew 5, verse 3. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. Have you been persecuted recently because of your beliefs? Has someone confronted you and said, you know, I can't believe you make that stance, and can you prove to me why, through the Bible, that you feel that way? If not, are you really doing that much? Do people know where you stand on things? That's tough to read, because as I self-reflect, you don't think of very many times when, you know, a Bible topic comes up to where you just really stand firm. Sometimes we need to make sure before we're looking out at others that we're looking in at us. And that is not always fun. If you're a person that is doing what you're supposed to be doing, it will be contagious. It will be contagious. There are coaches that you can watch in sports or listen to, or there are people like, what's the guy's name that everybody wants to be behind? It's got the big smile all the time and his hand out for money. Joel Osteen, that's his name. There are people like that in the world. People want to be around because that joker smiles and he is upbeat all the time, and man, what a great guy. Well, how come The ones of us that feel like we're figuring things out through the Word don't have that same infectious, charismatic theme. When we're presenting the Word in love, and when we are after it and really about it, like others should want to be around us and imitate us as we're imitating Christ. We're going to end in Matthew 17. Matthew 17. Like I said, I was going to be short and sweet. I'm trying to be both of those. Sweet's never been a forte of mine. And Jesus said unto them, because of your unbelief, for verily I say unto you, if you have faith as a grain of a mustard seed, you shall say unto this mountain, remove thee hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. All right, I've been told about a mustard seed my entire life, I guess. I actually Googled it and wanted to see like what a picture of a mustard seed is. For any of you ladies that have ever done any sewing and you tack something with a pin and it's got that little white dot on the end of it, or silver or whatever color it is, that tiny little dot that allows you to pull that pin in and out, that's about the size of a mustard seed. That is phenomenally small. I mean, tiny. Yet if we had the faith of a mustard seed, we can move a mountain. How many mountains have you moved? How many people have you infected with the need to follow Christ because of your faith? How many have I? I'm not, like I said, I'm not talking down, I'm saying, are we doing that? If it's that small, how about this? There's not anything in the world that is really small when you really look at it. When you fully look at something. Now, it's nice to break things down into small bits so you can make it through something. For example, we say with our players, you go every 200 feet, and you make that 200 feet, you look at the next 200 feet. That's about how far car lights will shine out in front of your car. And if you can see to that point and make it, a runner will mark a spot up in front, and when they make to that spot, they'll mark another spot and keep moving it. The guy off Lone Survivor, he drew a line in the sand, and he drug himself to that line, and when he got there, he drew another one, and he kept going because he broke it down into small things. If you'll look at small things through a big picture, they'll be huge. I asked one of our math teachers last night, I said, what is the first whole number above 0? And I was hoping I was right, and she texted back and said, it's 1. And I said, well, then I can say, you cannot get to 1 million without first getting to 1. If you're someone like me that struggles with doing daily things that should help us build and encourage, you got to take step 1 before you can get step 2, before you can get down the road to whatever you need to get to. How many of us are going to take that step, that one small step? I know today has been rushed, or this afternoon has been rushed, and may not have made sense to you in any shape, form, or fashion, but it helped me out a lot to be able to prepare for this lesson. Small things can't be taken lightly, I'll say that again, and small things are really not small things at all when you put them into perspective. Make sure that we're trying to be that person for anybody that we can influence, because you're influencing somebody whether you want to or not. All the time. This afternoon, if you've not become a Christian, get Ace up here if he was here to say, hear, believe, repent, confess, and be baptized. We have a baptistry right here. We're prepared to do that. If you're a Christian that has fallen away and lost sight of the small things that it takes to be the right kind of example in your everyday walk of life, please come at this time.